Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, and welcome to Command Power, the show in which we discuss all things Magic the Gathering with a focus on Commander. And today we have a brand new deck for you, and just as a quick heads up, this is not a budget deck, although I do think it should be fairly easy to find substitutes for those expensive cards. But before we do that, just a quick reminder to please click subscribe if you enjoy my videos. I'm currently growing the channel and I'm getting very close to 1,000 subscribers, so it would mean the world to me if you could support me. And today we're going to be talking about Zimone and Dina, which for me is probably the strongest commander to come out of March of the Machine. And if you don't know what Zimone and Dina does, for 1 black, 1 green and 1 blue, it's a legendary creature, human dryad 3/4 with whenever you draw your second card each turn, target opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. It also has tap, sacrifice another creature, draw a card. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. If you control 8 or more lands, repeat this process once. So this is an absolutely crazy commander, incredibly powerful, great value generation, and has quite a few ways to go infinite. So for the first time on this channel, we're going to do a deck tech in which one of the main ways the deck wins is by going infinite. Of course, this can also just grind out value. It's an extremely effective card to do that, but there are quite a few ways in this deck with which we can basically just close enough to win the game on the spot. So anyway, without further ado, let's get started. We have a Landra, Sky Dreamer. This is really great because obviously we're going to activate our commander's ability and draw our second card, which then means that this is going to trigger. That gives us a token creature that we can sacrifice to our commander the next time we use the ability. Really solid. Ancient Greed Warden is going to work really nicely because we have a lot of landfall in this deck, so that's something that we want to definitely be doubling up on. Avenger of Zendikar is excellent in this deck because it's going to give us a ton of bodies to sacrifice to Zimone and Dina, and also it acts as a really good finisher because it's very easy to trigger the landfall ability of this with our commander. Bloodroot's Witherbloom is an absolute bomb of a card in most Golgari decks, but again in this one we can take advantage of those tokens more than most. Birds of Paradise is a great way to accelerate our commander and get it out on turn 2. Bloodcast is one of the ways we can start to build up our infinite combo. Because our commander puts a land into play, we can immediately return this, and if we have a way to untap our commander, we can sacrifice it again and keep looping it. Chasm Skulker is one of the fair cards in the deck. It's one of the ways that we can win. If we don't combo off, we can just make it get really big. Eternal Witness gives us a nice little bit of recursion for our combos. Ethereal Investigator is really good in this deck because it gives us a bunch of tokens that we can then use to trigger our commander's first ability, but then also when we draw a second card each turn, we're going to get a flyer that we can sacrifice to our commander's second ability. Kixin Puppeteer basically duplicates the first ability on Zimone and Dina. It's going to give us a nice little life gain buff, and then when it dies we're going to get a nice little bit of value and recursion, so this card fits very well in this deck. Greensleeve's Marrow Sorcerer is one of the best landfall payoff cards we have in the game. It is a little bit expensive, so you can substitute it for something else if you don't have this one, but yeah, giving us a 3/3 every time a land enters the battlefield is going to work really well with our commander. Jolrael Monvoli Recluse is another way we can win the game in a fair way by pumping all of our creatures, but then also it's going to generate cat tokens whenever we draw our second card each turn, which we're interested in. Hero's Follower is really good as ramp that also doubles up as a semi-combo piece by untapping our commander. Meloku the Clouded Mirror is going to make sure that we always have lands in hand that we can put into play with our commander, and then it's also going to create tokens, so this fits both sides of our commander very well. Min Wily Illusionist is a card I really like. We get to put tokens into play every time we draw 2 cards a turn, and then once we have enough of those illusion tokens and we sacrifice them to our commander, we also get to randomly put permanents into play, so that's really nice. Obnixilis the Fallen is one of our win cons. It can either work with the fair way or with the infinite combo way by just dealing a bunch of damage to our opponents. Ophiomantia is going to make sure we never run out of things to sacrifice to our commander. Quirion Ranger works really well, and it's one of the ways we can kind of combo off a little bit. It does have the limit of once per turn, but still getting 2 activations off of our commander's ability is pretty insane. Rampaging Balos is another fair card. It's going to make tokens and we can try to use them to finish the game, but nothing particularly unfair about this one. Scoot Swarm is going to work so well by making extra tokens that we can sacrifice early on to Dina and Zimone, but then late game it's just going to start to get out of hand really quickly. Seedborn Muse is great in most green decks, and in this one it's no different. We have a bunch of activated abilities, so that's going to work really nice when we get to untap our creatures. Children of the Apocalypse is mostly being used in a very fair way here, just to gain us life and keep us alive. We don't actually have any way to make our opponents draw. Sylvan Safekeeper is excellent for protecting our key pieces by giving them Shroud. We don't really care that much if our lands get put into the graveyard because we can recur them, and actually we're putting so many lands into play that it should be fine. Tatiova Benthic Druid is going to draw us a ton of cards in this deck and gain us a little bit of life. Tideforce Elemental is actually a combo piece in this deck because Tideforce Elemental can untap our commander, and then when a land comes into into play, we get to untap Tide Force Elemental, and then we can pay 1 blue to untap our commander. So we can close enough to go infinite with this, which is very strong. Tireless Provisioner is going to ramp us or gain us some food occasionally so that we can gain some life. And Zimone Quandrix Prodigy is a very fair way to draw some extra cards. For instance, we have Arcane Denial is a nice way to draw cards that's also going to trigger some of our draw 2 cards effects. Growth Spiral is a really good ramp effect that also synergizes very well with our landfall triggers. Mortality Spirit is going to be really good in this deck because we're usually getting quite a bit of life thanks to our commander, which means that this is a 2-mana catch-all removal. And Pylon is going to work well with all of those tokens we're making with landfall cards, which allows us to kill something for very cheap. For sorceries, we have Exsanguinate, which is one of our finishers of choice. We're going to have so much mana that this should be very easy to close off games with. Villainous Wealth is our other finisher of choice. This is a really fun one, I think, and it actually also occasionally whiffs, which makes it more interesting rather than just always instantly crushing the game. For enchantments, we have Abundance, which is basically going to guarantee that we can never whiff off our commander. It's already difficult to whiff, but with this we can always make sure that we get exactly what we need. Curse of the Restless Dead is interesting because we're going to curse ourselves, and then we're going to make creature tokens with Decayed. Zombies that are perfect to sacrifice to Zimone and Dina because we don't care that they have Decayed. Druid class is going to gain us some life, and then it's also going to allow us to put some extra lands into play. Both of those things are stuff that we're interested in. Intruder Alarm is an excellent combo piece with our commander because we have so many ways to make tokens on lands entering the battlefield that it means Zimone and Dina is almost always going to be able to just keep churning through our deck. Retreat to Coral Helm is basically the same as Intruder Alarm. Every time a land comes into play, we're going to untap Zimone and Dina, and then if we've made just one token with any of our other cards, we get to go and do it again. And Zendikar's Royal is another way to make tokens on landfall. For artifacts, we have Conduit of Worlds. This gives us some really nice late game recursion and inevitability by making sure that we can always play our best card from the graveyard. Lightning Greaves is going to give our commander a nice little bit of protection so that we can do our thing without being too scared of removal. Thornbite Staff is going to be really good because we're sacrificing creatures as part of our commander's ability, and then that means that we're going to untap our commander immediately, thus making it very likely that we can go infinite. 1000 Year Elixir is also going to be great here because we get to pay 1 mana to untap our commander, and we also get to activate our commander immediately if we play it after the elixir. Then we have Tibar Jubilant Brawler, which is great for allowing our commander to tap immediately, and then it's also going to allow us to use it twice per turn by untapping it. Not only that, but it also gives us a tiny little bit of recursion for some of our smaller things, so a lot of stuff that this card does that we're very interested in. For lands, there are 2 notable ones that I want to stress. Field of the Dead is obviously going to be really good if you build your mana base around it, because getting a 2/2 zombie every time a land enters the battlefield just works perfectly with what our commander is trying to do. And Minamo's School at Water's Edge allows us again to get a turn where we can use our commander twice if we're going the fair route. So there you have it. That has been our Zimone and Dina deck tech. This is probably one of the stronger deck techs I've ever posted on the channel. I don't think I'm going to build it myself because even though I love value, I think this is almost too streamlined and too good for me. Do let me know if you're interested in playing this kind of deck in the comments below though. What do you think? Are there any things you would change? Any additions that you think I missed? Please let me know in the comments section below. I read all comments and respond to all of them too. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click like or subscribe. It really helps the channel. And until next time, take care.